Thank you, Professor, for this essay. I hope you don't mind if I share my answer with a few other people. So, in Elena Maris's piece, Hacking Xena, Technological Innovations and the Queer Influence in the Production of Mainstream Television, they particularly use Xena Warrior Princess to zero in on seeing the way that queerness and internet fan communities can impact the actual pieces of art. And then you raise the question about what slash relationship we would put forward. And I am so happy to have any opportunity to talk about Kya and Lin Beifong in Legend of Korra. And I think that some of the elements that Maris is getting at in this article really particularly work well with understanding how this could happen in Legend of Korra, because I wasn't prepared for it. I personally came to watch Legend of Korra as a response to seeing so many vibrant iterations of the internet fan community surrounding it, particularly on TikTok. That drew me to actually watching the series, and I didn't immediately think about the ship between Lin and Kya, which is mostly called KyaLin. But the moment someone mentioned it to me, I instantly felt it made sense. I could see the tension, I could see the growth, I could see the arcs, I could see the chemistry between them. And then I realized that they never actually shared a scene together, but this is a fairly popular ship within the fandom. So I want to first start with one of the quotes that Maris includes in the piece, and it says, "With the advent of internet fan communities, aggressive online fan creative productivity, and outright campaigning, Xena Warrior Princess personnel began identifying with fans, and as a result, a series originally devised as heteronormative increasingly began to be read and written as queer." I think what's interesting there, and their choice to use Xena Warrior Princess as a springboard, is that they are then dealing with something intentionally devised as heteronormative, right? But Legend of Korra wasn't necessarily, because it is canon within the universe that the main character, Korra, is bisexual and ends the series in a relationship with Asami, a ship called Korrasami. So I see Legend of Korra and this discussion about KyaLin as an interesting progression of the discussion that Maris begins in this article with Xena Warrior Princess. To continue on with why KyaLin, I think it's important to talk about what Maris refers to as hacks, and they say hacking Xena. And so to read what they put, I call these queer advances hacks because of their core similarities in the intent and disruption of normative systems of power through playful technological tactics deployed in spaces opened up by industry's weakness in the face of innovation. So queer advances in media pushed by queer fan culture, they refer to that as hacks. And they compare it to hacks within a computer system in that it exploits a weakness in the face of innovation, and in doing so disrupts a normative system. In the case of media, it's exploiting the weakness of a lack of acknowledgement of queerness, and in doing so, it disrupts the system of heteronormativity. What's so interesting is that if there is a small door left open by the refusal to acknowledge queerness, like in the case of Xena Warrior Princess, that small door, I think, allows for hacks that then do a queer reading of certain scenes, moments, and relationships. Now, on the other hand, if that's only a small gap, the gap left open by something like Legend of Korra, where the queerness is canon and yet because of network restrictions wasn't able to be depicted, in other words, queerness is acknowledged but not shown, is a far wider door. And so I don't believe that there's a need for this reading of subtext as much as there's this increased freedom to simply know that queerness exists within the world. What now? Not to say that there's any world that explicitly says queerness doesn't exist in it, but there's a very widened door open, a much larger area of weakness in the face of innovation, and therefore a much larger array of hacks that can be made. So for Kya and Lin, who never shared a scene together, it doesn't have to be about, subtle moments and lingering touches and a reading into moments and scenes and lines the way that it had to be for Xena and Gabrielle on Xena Warrior Princess. Instead, it can just be this understanding of the characters of each of the women, and deducing that down to then saying, oh, they'd be perfect together, which was the response I had upon hearing KyaLin, and the response so many other people have, why it can be a vibrant ship. Now, as to why specifically those two, I think they would have great chemistry. In my head, they totally had scenes together and there was chemistry. But both of them are really strong and driven women, but they aren't perfectly alike. Kya being a little bit more of a free spirit in a way that I believe would ground Lin Beifong, who can be very stoic. To clarify, Kya being the adult daughter of Aang, the late Avatar Aang, and who mostly spends her time traveling unless she is in the Southern Water Tribe with her mother Katara, whereas Lin Beifong is the adult daughter of Toph, who is also the chief of police in Republic City. Very different lives, but very determined. They love very fiercely in the areas where they do love. They have very strong codes of ethics, and they have also both shared in the experience of being raised by a parent who is seen as a hero by the world, but also has incredible and very present flaws. And I think they would have a grand old time together. So that is why I think that Kya and Lin would make a great slash ship, but also how it fits into an understanding of the way that queer influence can change production and maybe new avenues and opportunities for hacks. Thank you.